with plantar fasciitis, obviously it's a painful condition. It's not just necessarily rolling out the bottom of your ankles, but it's about getting a better foot positioning, improving the arch quality, improving the tissue quality, the fascia around the peroneals, our tibialis, our soleus, our Achilles, our calves. And also probably works up the chain a bit with our hips as well, because obviously sometimes like we get into this kind of inverted position where our ankle rolls. It makes it a lot more trickier to obviously create stability in the feet. Pressure goes into certain areas, and oftentimes that does lead to plantar fasciitis, or at least that's what I've kind of seen. So what we can do is we can start to work on the tissue quality of our calves, and as I said, up the chain a little bit as well. So number one, we obviously want to roll out the calves. What we can do is go all the way up and down that kind of leg, but we want to work on just different angles. So I'm putting my other foot on top to create a little bit more pressure. So I'm working on the inside of my calves, going down to my Achilles, and obviously back up as well, right? If you have a little peanut or some golf balls, or some golf balls, you can kind of like work this a little bit deeper by putting golf balls into a pair of socks, tying them up, and you got two golf balls really, really tight together. And then you can kind of dig in a little bit deeper into this kind of region rather than just say like a foam roller. I don't have them, so obviously I'm using a foam roller here, but as you can see, I'm driving my foot from different angles into that foam roller, right from the bottom, all the way working up, right to the top, like so. And I can kind of like push my foot down to create a little bit more tension. You generally find like it gets a little bit gummy and a little bit stuck there. Like I've broken my ankle, I've ruptured my foot quite bad. And so I've had to do a lot of like to restore kind of like foot function in my foot. And this kind of stuff was really important. I had a little bit of plantar fasciitis when I was doing it, and these kind of like exercises really helped. But you really want to drive like pressure and power into it. From that, once you're done with the calves, we can also go onto the front as well. You can use a barbell for this as well, right? But see how like I'm rolling on my tibialis. So just on the outside of that shin bone, like you've obviously got this muscle here. I'm actually going to work on that as well. So again, I can put my hand on here to drive into a little bit more, and that's really tight and tender. Like that's no joke. That's quite difficult to do. Get right down to the bottom. Like this is quite sore for me. Right into just above that kind of ankle. Again, I'm just going to the side of the bone. I'm not jamming on top of the bone, right? That's going to be painful, but and while I'm here with my foot, what I can do is go forward and back, like so, right? So you can see like I'm doing like plantar dorsiflexion. So lift my foot up and down. Ooh, that's tender. And again, I'm really working into that kind of region there. Again, it's just the muscle that's on the side of my tibia kind of like bone. It's that kind of meat on the shin. And again, driving right up into the top position. But I'm putting my weight on it, right? I'm not just doing it passively. I'm really working tight and pushing pressure into it. And that's really tender. And again, what I can do where I find this sore, I can move my foot forward and back to get a little bit deeper into that position as well. Now, I can use a foam roller. If you have a barbell or something even heavier at home, you can do the same thing. You can roll on the barbell, or as I mentioned, the golf balls as well, which would be really, really important to do. What I can also do, I've got these, imagine these are golf balls. I can really jam this into like certain areas of my calf, which is gonna be tight, and I can put a little bit of pressure on it, and that's gonna like drive into it. It's gonna kind of get like the upper layers of my muscle out of the way and really dig deep into that kind of like fascia, deep into those kind of like tendons and layers of muscle as well underneath. And then I'm just working up the chain. So putting pressure, drive my foot down and up. That's really tender. What I can also do as well is you can sit on the bench and do this as well, right? You don't have to do it like I am now, but you can get that golf ball, you can drive it into that shin, but make sure like you're driving fairly tense into it. You don't want to be light with this. You don't want to be passive. You really want to dig in. So if I'm on the bench, it's a little bit easier. I can hold my weight up and push into it a little bit more, and I want to get right up to the top, almost near my knee, right? Because that foot function The problem is here, it's generally up the chain that the kind of like the issues are. So when I fix, that's tender for me. All around. Oh man, that's so sore. Yeah, and again, if I had a golf ball, I can obviously get into it a little bit deeper. Now I've got this like little trigger point here. You can see it looks like a little chicken's foot. I can get into that, hell of a lot harder. This is actually really good, but now that is really nasty and really painful. It's really gummy around here. And that tissue quality is often quite poor because we never really mobilize or stretch it or work on that quality. Wow, man, that's sore. So again, I'm clamping my foot down. As you can see in my foot, I'm driving up and down. Woo! That's smoking. That is actually making me sweat. Again, I can do that all around, right? I don't have to do it just on the side, my perineals or my tibialis, but I can even do it standing upright. I can like apply pressure from the side, clamp it, and then just work on some toe raises. Wow, man. Now that is quite stiff, quite sore. It's actually going a bit tingly. Whew. That's pretty difficult. Then from that, what we can do is start to work on the stretch of that tibialis, obviously on the front as well. So I can sit in this position, drive my foot down, and then try to lift my foot up, okay, to get a nice deep stretch all along the front part of that. So you can see that my foot is flat on the floor, okay, my bum is touching my heel, and I'm driving that knee up. Wow, and that's kind of like my limit there. And I can kind of work on just improving that range of motion. So when I'm doing it, nice deep breaths. Just lifting up a little bit of time every time I breathe. One thing I haven't actually done yet is actually work on the side of this here. So you can, like, if you had golf balls tied together, you'd be a little bit deeper in this position. But you can actually work on just the side of this, like on my foot here, right? Where generally speaking, we don't really work too much on. This is kind of like, then you can move your foot forward and back, or your foot or so, or your toes up and down. But you want to try and clamp it, right? Similar thing with your Achilles. If you had like the golf balls underneath, you can like rest them. So it's almost like rolling each side, right? And you can just work on like driving your ankle or your toes towards you and back. But essentially you're just trying to clamp them down. From that, what we can do is, I hate feet, but take your socks off. Now I'm going to show you from the side. What we want to do is actually just improve like the quality of the arch here. So what I'm going to try and do is do a little bit of a calf stretch, but I'm actually going to have the other 4 toes on the floor. You can do this against the wall also, or door frame. But I'm looking at driving the big toe up in the air, driving my knee on top, and working on just driving that knee and applying pressure over the ankle, keeping the other 4 toes on the floor with my foot up. Now I can drive my chest into my knee and lean forward in this position. I get a stretch up my calf and my Achilles, but also like what it does do, actually works on improving that arch as well. When my toe's flat compared to when it's up, there's a big difference in the size of the arch. So my knee is driving over the ankles here. I'm just powering my knee down, adding a little bit of weight, work on the kind of like the stretch of that Achilles of that calf. Okay, it's really important to keep this heel flat. What you can do, and what I like doing, is just like jamming it down with the opposite hand, or the same hand, whatever it may be. Just make sure that I'm getting a deeper stretch. If you feel it more so in the front of your Achilles, front of your shin, the bottom here, sometimes like you get this little calcification which kind of happens where it stops you kind of like your shins from guiding over, your tibia from guiding over your ankle. So what you can do is get a band and pull it. So you've got a band around here, maybe it's attached to like a post or a pole or something, or a rack. As you're driving forward, the band's pulling you back and helping you glide over that foot there. But for me, this kind of seems okay. And then we just want to work on like driving our fingers into our, like this, driving our fingers into our foot, all right? So we've got a little bit of separation. I'm just gonna work on like just rolling them like so. But what's really important is I'm rolling my ankles, I'm keeping my knees straight, and my tibia straight too. So like, I'm not moving my shin different direction, I'm trying to keep my shin straight. I'm working on big circles. So maybe I'll go 10 forward and 10 back, but I'm not looking at rotating my shin as such. So my shin bone wants to face forward the whole time. I'm just going big circles, okay? Maybe like 5 forward, 5 back. From that, what I can then do is think about keeping the other 4 toes on the floor, but lift my toe up and down, like 4 or 5 times. All right, just to get a little bit more foot function back. Sometimes like people have a difficulty just lifting the big toe off the floor. Sometimes like when I ask people to lift the big toe off, all 5 toes come off the floor, right? So focus on driving that toe up and down, up and down. Then the same thing, what you can do is drive that foot down and then lift the other 4 toes up and down. Okay, without doing that. So toe comes down, 4 up and down. And just see how that feels for you. Right, sometimes like if we're doing it like I am there, my actual toes come to the floor as well. And then the last one is just try and splay your toes as best you can. So you're trying to create like a nice wide arch. Then you can just like focus on stretching your calf in different positions. Like so. Like that, okay? Keeping the heel flat. Make sure that the arch is there. And as we're driving inwards, we're not letting that ankle collapse into it. Okay, from that, we then go into a little banded stretch using a rack and a bench. So now I'm gonna get this little band here into the hip. I'll drive that forward, and I'm gonna put my foot down like so, and I'm gonna work on just like sinking my hips back, keeping my chest straight. I'm just gonna tilt forward in that position. All right, so my knee's not actually driving onto the bench. I'm not doing like a couch stretch in this position here, but my foot's here, my shin bone's slightly angled backwards, my back knee's far enough away that it gives me a bit of space. I can kind of play around in that area there, but I want to drive my hips back to where the band is. So the band wants to be pulling me back in a certain position. With my body, I'm keeping my spine nice and straight. I'm just reaching forward in that position. You're gonna feel it like a little bit around this kind of hip area here. I just want to hold for 20 to 30 seconds with nice, deep breaths, like so. And the last exercise we can do is using this bench. I can just set this up a little bit, but I'm on the side here with my knee and keeping my body straight. I just want to work on driving this heel up and down without moving my spine. So my hand here is rested. I don't know if you can see my head or not, I'm not too sure, but my body's nice and stable. My knee is at like 90 degrees at the hip, 90 degrees at the knee to the ankle. And I'm just thinking about driving my ankle up and down. Just getting kind of like trying to work just some internal rotation of the hip there as well. And I just want to hold that for a few seconds, bring it down, but not change anything to do with my core, how I'm positioning, how my knee is moving, okay? So it should only be the ankle that's driving up off the bench and back down again. So working on those kind of exercises will be really good for like, just improving foot function, improving maybe the pain with plantar fasciitis, and hopefully just reducing the symptoms over a period of time. You can do them a couple of days a week. You don't have to do all of them in one go, but it does massively help. Any questions? Just drop me a comment.